Welcome to JR Adventures. Listen to me. We're going to have several episodes of this going on. We're going to go as far as we can. Basically covering 1993, 94, how far we can go. I'm J.R. Hendrick. I'm going to have Jimmy tell it in third person. July 4th, 1993. J.R., Ken, and some friends of theirs from prep school and Texas Tech are staying together in a motor coach outside of J.R.'s cousin Frank's home in Wills Point, Texas. J.R. had gone to the Wills Point Baptist Church with his high school sweetheart, Olivia Reynolds. After church, he was disappointed because his best friend Ken wanted to take a nap. Instead of moping around, he went with his friend Harold to go play miniature golf. After miniature golf, JR decided to go to a cafe called East T-Mac, just outside of Tyler, Texas. There, he bumped into, once again, his high school sweetheart, Olivia Reynolds. He sits down, orders a steak medium well with a Dr. Pepper. I see how some things haven't changed, Olivia said. No, in many ways they haven't. Except Texas Tech has forced me to grow. Now, I hear your dad held you behind a little bit in prep school. Olivia bristled. I start at Baylor University this fall, J.R. J.R. looked at her. Hey, look, calm down. But you know, I really wish your dad would let you transfer to Texas Tech. Olivia looked at him and hugged him. I'll try. But don't get your hopes up. Dad really wants his kids going to Christian colleges. J.R. looks at her. So tell me, what's up with your dad these days since your parents split up? Oh, he's gone crazy, J.R. He's become a Catholic. Wants all his kids in Christian colleges. J.R. looked at her. And I bet he had your marriage to your parents annulled. His marriage to your mother annulled. J.R. looked at her. And she said this. We still could be something, J.R. Talk to your dad about transferring to Texas Tech? Sure. Can I go back with you to the motor coach for a little bit? Sure, J.R. said. Take me back to the motor coach. You see, the Reynolds motor coach wasn't parked very far from J.R.'s. And so, what they did is they went back to the motor coach and kissed a little bit. Then, at 10 o'clock, J.R. sends her home. The next day was quite interesting. J.R. went to play some more miniature golf with with Rand. Harold had had too much to drink the night before. After the golf game, JR gets called by his uncle. They're going to the lake house in Tyler, Texas, because they had arrived at Tyler, Texas that morning. With that, Ken gets a car service. No, JR gets a car service to go to the house. Ken drives JR's car. Ken pulls up in the car. "Who is this?" Ken asked. "It's a friend. He said he wanted to have dinner with me. You're invited." They walk up some small steps and go to the door and knock on the door. "Yes?" A young woman in her early 20s answered the door. "Well, hello, Crystal. I haven't seen you in ages since prep school." "Well, hello, Ken." Suddenly, you could hear a voice bellow from inside the house. "Crystal, for Pete's sake, let them in." They walk into the house where there is a mahogany table, fresh smelling of pine. The man, Martin Mendelson, a Baptist deacon, turns to his daughter. "Crystal, get us something to drink, will you? And quickly." Martin then turns to JR. "Hey, it's good to see you again, JR." JR turns to him. "Likewise. This is my friend Kenny." And Martin looks at him and says, "Great. Sit. Dinner shows up. A dinner of fajitas, along with some brown rice and refried beans. Now, JR, what did you tell him about me, about Martin Mendelson?" "Martin is a friend of my uncle's." "The whole truth, JR?" Martin said. "Martin is a Baptist deacon who has been interested in my progress." Ken sighs. "Of course." "But you know, my pastor has recently released a book. It's available on cassette tape also. It's called The Lies Men Are Told." Ken bristles and looks at him. "Well, hello? What's the book about?" Martin goes into his living room and comes back with the audiobook with a picture of his pastor. "This is him, Jonah Reeves. He's flown in from Dallas back to Odessa this afternoon." Martin whistles with glee. "And he's publishing all over the place. And you get a copy." Ken turns to him. "Well, sir, is it good? Huh?" Dinner being over, Crystal turns to them. "You guys want a drink to go?" "Not now. Martin said, "They gotta go. They're just here for dinner. You can see them later on this evening." They get in the car, and Ken drives them back to the motor coach. As their other friends are out drinking, they're listening to the book. JR seems enthralled with what is mentioned there, but Ken is less enthusiastic. JR, "I'm sorry, but I give this a thumbs down. But what he's mentioning about the lies is the truth." Kenny turns to him. "Yes, what he's mentioning about the lies is the truth, but JR, you and I don't necessarily agree about some things." "Like what?" JR said. "Total abstinence? Kids are going to do it anyway, JR." "Bullcrap," JR said. "No way. That's not going to happen that way." 2 hours later, a Chevy Suburban pulls up at the motor coach. "What in the world is going on? What is Martin's car doing here?" JR asked Ken. "I asked him this, okay? To make up with what happened with that book." "What's going on?" JR said. "Listen to me. I know you really don't like it," Ken said. "Kenny, answer the damn question," JR said angrily. "I asked him if we could take Crystal with us as far as New Orleans, and he agrees as long as I protect her. So I promised I would protect her from the rest of these crazy boys." "Why'd you do it?" JR asked. "Are you crazy? She was my prep school sweetheart, JR. Of course I will protect her." Crystal gets into the motor coach and embraces Ken. "Perhaps someday she'll be my wife." JR cringes. "Oh no. Oh man. Why are you doing this?" Ken hugs tightly to Crystal. "You know what I did. Now look. We leave in 2 days for Shreveport. Relax." Not long after that, Reed comes back with Harold and Antonio. "I told you 20 times, Harold, you were only to get one drink." "One free drink," Harold said. "One drink, period, man. See, if you gotten too drunk, JR would have no choice but tell the coach driver to leave you behind." Ken looked at JR. "You have to give up you've already made out with Olivia. You have to give up the back bedroom and sleep with the boys. Patricia, she's getting the back bedroom. I'm protecting her." The next day, JR and Olivia and Ken and Crystal went swimming at Lake Tyler. It was a beautiful time. Picnics and everything. But that night, Olivia invited JR to a Texas Christian Coalition dinner at a hotel in Tyler. Her father had booked a suite for a few hours for them to be together after the dinner. Ken also went with Crystal. It was a good time.